My name is Emily Carter. I'm 23 years old, and this is the story that destroyed my career, shattered my heart, and forced me to choose who I really was. When I got my first job as an English teacher at Westbridge High School, I thought my life was finally beginning. I had just graduated, full of ideals and belief in literature, honesty, and doing the right thing. I wanted to inspire students. I wanted to be the teacher I never had. Westbridge High stood tall and respectable on the edge of town. Red brick walls, polished floors, banners about excellence and integrity hanging in the hallways. Integrity, that word would later haunt me. The principal, Daniel Whitmore, hired me personally. He was in his early 40s, confident, composed, the kind of man who commanded attention without raising his voice. Parents trusted him, teachers respected him, students feared disappointing him. The first time he called me into his office, it was after one of my observation lessons. "You're different, Emily," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. "You don't just teach the material, you feel it." I remember blushing. I wasn't used to praise like that. He began stopping by my classroom more often. Compliments turned into long conversations. Long conversations turned into late afternoons in his office after everyone had gone home. I knew he was married. I knew it was wrong. But I also knew what it felt like to be seen. To have someone older, powerful, intelligent tell you that you were special, that you were the only person who understood him, that his marriage was complicated, that he felt trapped. I told myself it was emotional at first, just connection, just mentorship. Until one evening when the hallway lights were dim and the janitor had already locked half the building, he stepped closer than usual. "You deserve more than this place," he whispered. His hand brushed mine, and I didn't pull away. That was the beginning. Our relationship became a secret rhythm. Stolen kisses behind closed doors, text messages deleted immediately. The thrill of being desired mixed with the constant fear of being exposed. He would hold my face and say, "You trust me, don't you?" I did. At least I thought I did. Everything changed 3 months later. It was a Monday morning when the new student walked into my senior literature class. His name was Jason Miller. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell slightly into his eyes. But it wasn't just that he was handsome. It was the way he carried himself, calm, observant, self-assured in a way that didn't feel arrogant. The guidance counselor introduced him quickly. Jason transferred from Chicago. "Make him feel welcome." He took the empty seat in the back of the room. I tried to continue discussing The Great Gatsby, but my concentration shattered. Every time I glanced up from the book, his eyes were already on me, not in a childish way, not mocking, just studying me, and I felt exposed. I stumbled over a sentence. A student laughed lightly. I never stumbled. When the bell rang, everyone rushed out. I gathered my books too quickly, pretending to be busy. "Miss Carter?" His voice stopped me. I turned slowly. "Yes, you seemed nervous today." My pulse jumped. "I wasn't." He tilted his head slightly. "You don't have to lie." The audacity. He was 18, my student. "That's inappropriate," I said firmly. "I'm just saying," he continued, stepping a little closer, lowering his voice. "You looked at me like you were afraid of something." "I'm not afraid of anything." His eyes softened. "Then why are your hands shaking?" I hadn't even noticed. "Go home, Jason." He didn't move. "Can I ask you something off the record?" "No." "Are you happy?" The question hit me harder than it should have. "Yes," I said quickly. He studied my face for a long second, then nodded as if he didn't believe me at all. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. "Are you happy?" Daniel had never asked me that. A week later, Jason stayed after class again. "I know this is risky," he said quietly, "but I'd like to get coffee with you." "That's completely inappropriate." "As your teacher, yes," he agreed calmly. "As two human beings." "Not really. You're my student." "For 3 more months." The way he said it made my stomach tighten. "I won't tell anyone," he added. "I just want to talk. You seem like someone who doesn't get to talk honestly." It was manipulative. I knew that, but it was also true. I should have reported him, set boundaries, shut it down. Instead, I said, "One coffee in public, that's it." We met at a small cafe across town where no one from school usually went. Without the classroom between us, everything felt different. He wasn't a boy trying to impress me. He was thoughtful, intense, surprisingly mature. He talked about moving after his parents' divorce, about feeling invisible in crowded places, about hating fake authority. People in power think they own everyone, he said casually, stirring his coffee. Something in his tone made me uneasy. And what do you think? I asked. I think power only works if people are afraid. Our eyes locked. For the first time, I felt something shift inside me, not excitement, recognition. Over the next few weeks, we met again, and again, walks in quiet parks. Long conversations in my car, messages that became more personal, more dangerous. One evening, it started raining while we were walking by the river. We ran under a large oak tree, laughing, soaked. He looked at me differently that night. Emily, he said softly. He had never used my first name before. I should have corrected him. Instead, I stepped closer. He touched my waist carefully as if giving me time to stop him. I didn't. When he kissed me, it felt nothing like Daniel's calculated confidence. It was uncertain, raw, almost desperate, and I kissed him back. That was the moment everything crossed the line. The next week, Daniel saw us. Jason and I were walking downtown at dusk, not holding hands but too close, laughing too freely. Emily? My blood froze at the sound of Daniel's voice. He stood across the street, perfectly composed, hands in his coat pockets. Jason didn't step away from me. Good evening, Mr. Whitmore, he said evenly. Daniel's eyes moved between us. I had no idea my staff spent so much time mentoring students after hours. His tone was smooth, dangerous. It's none of your business, Jason replied calmly. I grabbed his arm. Stop, Daniel's gaze hardened. Be very careful, Miss Carter, he said quietly. Reputations are fragile. Jason stepped slightly in front of me. Are you threatening her? Daniel smiled faintly. I don't threaten, I protect this institution. The next day, Jason wasn't in class. By the end of the week, I was informed he had been expelled for serious disciplinary violations. No details provided. It was a lie. I stormed into Daniel's office. You can't do that, I said, shaking. You had no reason. He closed the door slowly behind me. I have every reason, he replied. You belong here, he doesn't. You expelled him because of me. He stepped closer. I removed a problem? He didn't do anything. Daniel's expression shifted, not angry, not jealous, possessive. You forget something, Emily, he said quietly. I can protect you or I can ruin you. My heart pounded. You wouldn't. Try me. That night, Jason called from an unknown number. They expelled me, he said flatly. I know, I'm so sorry. There was a long pause. Do you trust me? He asked. The same question Daniel used to ask. Yes, then meet me tomorrow. I need to tell you something. I barely slept that night. Daniel's words kept echoing in my head. I can protect you or I can ruin you. And then Jason's voice. Do you trust me? The next evening, I drove 30 minutes out of town to an old overlook above the highway, a place no one from Westbridge would think to go. Jason was already there, leaning against his car, hands in his jacket pockets. He looked different, colder, focused. You came, he said. Of course I came. They expelled you because of me. He shook his head slowly. Not because of you. Don't defend him. I'm not. The wind was sharp up there. The sky was turning purple as the sun disappeared. What's going on? I asked. You said you needed to tell me something. He studied my face for a long moment, almost as if he were deciding how much to reveal. Daniel Whitmore isn't who you think he is. My stomach tightened. You don't know him? I know enough. No, you don't, I snapped. He's been investigated before. My heart skipped. What? In Chicago 2 years ago. A complaint from a junior teacher, inappropriate relationship, pressure, threats. I felt the ground shift under me. That's not true. It was buried, Jason continued. The teacher left, no formal charges. He relocated here. I stared at him. How would you know that? He hesitated, then he exhaled slowly. Because that teacher was my sister. The words didn't make sense at first. What? My older sister Hannah, she was 24, first year teaching, same pattern, private meetings, emotional dependency. Promises, then control. I felt sick. She tried to report him. He threatened her career, said no one would believe her. She resigned, moved back home. She hasn't taught since. The wind felt colder. You're lying, I whispered, but there was no conviction in my voice. Jason's jaw tightened. I transferred here on purpose. The truth hit me like a slap. This wasn't accidental, I asked. No, so what was I? A plan. His expression cracked for the first time. At first, yes. I stepped back as if he had physically pushed me. You used me. I wanted proof, he said quickly. I wanted to catch him doing it again. I knew his pattern, young teacher. Isolated, flattered. My hands started shaking. So you flirted with me to what? Make him jealous? To make him react? And he did. Yes. And now you're expelled and I'm exposed. I didn't expect, he stopped. Didn't expect what? I didn't expect to care about you. The silence between us was heavy. You think that fixes it? I asked, my voice breaking. You manipulated me. Both of you did. I know. I turned away, trying to process everything. Daniel hadn't chosen me because I was special. I had fit a pattern, young, ambitious, eager for validation, replaceable. Does he have proof? Jason asked quietly. Of us? Yes. I thought of the street, the way he saw us. I don't know. Jason's expression hardened. He'll try to control the narrative. The next morning, I was called into Daniel's office again. This time, he didn't smile. He placed a printed photograph on his desk and slid it toward me. It was Jason and me under the oak tree in the rain, the kiss. My blood turned to ice. You're a disappointment, Daniel said calmly. I trusted you. You had someone follow us, I whispered. I safeguard this institution. You manipulated me. He leaned back, folding his hands. Be careful with accusations. You did this before, I said, my voice trembling but steady enough. In Chicago, for the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Who have you been speaking to? So it's true. His jaw tightened. You are in no position to challenge me, Emily. You prey on young teachers. Watch your tone. You ruin them when they resist. He stood up slowly. You think anyone will believe you? He said quietly. You had an inappropriate relationship with a student. I have evidence. My throat closed. You destroy me to protect yourself. I would protect this school, he corrected smoothly. That was the moment something inside me stopped being afraid. He was right about one thing: reputations were fragile, but so were secrets. That afternoon, I met Jason again. I'm done hiding, I said. He looked at me carefully. What are you going to do? Tell the truth. That could end your career. It already has. I contacted Hannah. Hearing her voice made everything real. The pauses, the way she avoided certain details, the fear still buried in her tone. You're not crazy, she told me. He makes you feel chosen, then small. We weren't alone. Over the next week, 2 former staff members agreed to speak anonymously. Similar experiences, private mentorship, emotional dependency. Subtle threats, a pattern. Jason helped gather statements, not as revenge anymore, as exposure. The school board meeting was packed the night I stood up to speak. My hands were steady. I entered a relationship with a student, I said clearly. Gasps filled the room. That was wrong, and I take responsibility for that. Daniel sat at the front table, composed as ever. But this is bigger than one mistake, I continued. There is a history of manipulation and coercion involving the principal of this school. Murmurs spread. I presented the testimonies, the timeline from Chicago, Hannah's statement. Daniel's calm facade began to crack. This is slander, he said sharply. Then investigate it, I replied. And they did. It took 2 months. 2 months of interviews, digital records, recovered emails, past complaints. In the end, the board placed him on administrative leave, then terminated him. No criminal charges were filed. There never seemed to be enough hard proof for that, but his career in education was over. As for me, I resigned before they could decide my fate. The relationship with Jason was reviewed. Because he was 18 at the time and legally an adult, it was a violation of professional ethics, not criminal law. Still, my teaching license was suspended for a year. I lost the job I loved. Jason lost his final year at Westbridge. And yet, when everything settled, we were still there. Not teacher and student anymore, just Emily and Jason. But trauma changes things. You don't owe me anything, he told me one evening months later. This started wrong. I know. Do you regret it? I thought about the manipulation, the exposure, the public shame. Then I thought about the moment under the oak tree. The first time someone asked if I was happy and actually cared about the answer. I regret how it began, I said, but I don't regret waking up. We didn't rush into forever. We rebuilt slowly, carefully, without secrets. I went to therapy. He did too. A year later, I got my license reinstated. But I didn't go back to Westbridge. Instead, I started speaking at education conferences about power dynamics, grooming, and institutional silence. About how manipulation doesn't always look like force. Sometimes it looks like praise, sometimes it looks like protection, and sometimes the villain smiles while calling you special. If you're watching this wondering how I could let it happen, I've asked myself the same question 1,000 times. The truth, loneliness is loud, validation is addictive, and power in the wrong hands is dangerous, but silence is worse. That's why I'm telling you this now.